Hi, this is Marissa, and today I want to talk a little bit about the astrological and cosmic forces that are occurring right now. Today is June 16th, 2019, and tomorrow we have a full moon in Sagittarius on June 17th, 2019. And I want to say basically about a year ago, maybe around the beginning of 2018, I began to notice that I was able to energetically feel what was happening in the planets. So in other words, instead of looking at an astrological chart and kind of doing things that way, like I realized that when things are going on, a lot of times like I'm feeling them. And I don't know how long that had been occurring for, but I do know it was just last year that I started realizing what was happening. And kind of how my life has been set up and structured is I've learned ever since like my awakening, I've had the awareness that, okay, I'm working on this lesson right now, then I'm working on this lesson, and I'm working on this lesson. I believe all of our lives are structured in a similar way, at least to some degree, that, you know, we're working on specific lessons, things that we're working through, learning, mastering, gaining skill sets in. And my life has kind of always been learning by example. And so this is no different. So what I kind of started recognizing is that whenever there was a full moon, the week before the moon is going to be full, that I really start to like feel kind of like the lesson or whatever is like going on. And it kind of led me to kind of think about it a little bit, and it kind of with like the growing of the moon, I realized, at least what it seems to me is as the moon grows and becomes more full, then I'm also becoming more aware and more aware and more aware of the lesson or whatever is occurring. And so one of the lessons right now that has been showing up for me has been kind of the remembrance of moments that have been, I would say mostly like the theme is embarrassing. So like, especially this morning in particular, but all this past week, I've really been feeling like I'll start remembering like an embarrassing moment that happened where I said or did something and I'm like, oh, that kind of makes me just cringe a little bit, like, ah. So, I think the reason that those are coming up though is so that they can be cleared. And they don't feel like super intense and super uncomfortable, but they definitely all have a charge with them. And I feel like, you know, these things are vibrating in our energetic field, right? And it wouldn't keep coming up if it was something that had already been cleared from my field. It's still holding a charge somewhere. And what I mean by charge is, you know, every time we go back and think about that memory or relive that experience, we're like, all over again, because there's that emotional charge there. That's what we really want to clear when it comes to a place of more like balance and neutrality with that. And it brings us more into alignment because we don't want all that vibrating in our field. So as these memories have been coming up, instead of, you know, pushing them back into the closet and being like, oh, I don't want to think about that. Instead, what I've been doing is looking at it. So I'm like, okay, here's this memory, this thing that maybe I don't necessarily love, right? But by looking at it and acknowledging it, I can do one of two things, right? I can look at it and be like, oh my God, like I just feel like thinking about that again. Or I can look at it and be like, okay, well, I don't want to feel that way. So I'm going to feel the space of calmness, neutrality. Yes, that was something that happened in the past, but now in the future or at the present moment, like, guess what? I just don't want to keep reliving in that experience and that emotion and that charge, and I don't have to. There's no reason I have to keep feeling that way. By looking at this thing and essentially like putting light on it, putting our awareness on it, that's how we move and vibrate things out of our fields. And sometimes the same thing will come back again, like a time or two. It's like, oh, I thought I cleared that, but here it is again. Well, oftentimes you'll notice that there'll be less of a charge, or less, you know, a lot less of a charge. It's not going to affect you in the same way. But if it's still coming up, it's still something that, you know, it needs to be looked at, acknowledged, and cleared. And you always have a choice. You don't have to sit there and feel any kind of way that you don't want to feel about any experience that you've had. So you don't have to sit and feel embarrassed about something. You can feel peaceful, you can feel neutral. And I think a lot of it has to do with like just taking ownership of it and being like, yeah, that was my experience, but now it's not. Now I'm here. So what? Like, I don't need to vibrate with that. I don't need to feel that because I'm in a new space. I'm in a new energy. And I think that it ties into the full moon in Sagittarius, in that Sagittarius is a sign of expansion. It wants to be big, expansive, heard. And I feel like when we're by clearing all these things out of our field right now, when they come up, we're making space to be more expansive, just more pure, in a way, being more in alignment and just in an energy, in a space that feels better and is better. And so that's really a lot of what I've been feeling right now. So maybe you've been feeling something similar, or maybe there's been a little variation or twist on what you've been feeling. I'd love to hear about it with any comments, and I think that's all for now. Bye.